Then
but you don't pay for it.
You don't pay for it.
That trust, you have trained with us. Exactly. Now you're going to the market.
You've given us your ID. If you do this, we will sue you.
Oh, you give them the ID or copy?
Yeah, copies.
Okay.
And all that.
So, and do they ask you to go and do a markup on the price or?
No. They give
it's
you
up to you.
Yeah.
They tell you whatever you do.
Yeah.
We need this money for this product.
For this product, I want 1,800.
Actually, sounds like if you're a good salesman,
yeah,
you'd crush it.
Yeah.
And I know maybe most of the guys who gave you the training were telling you how much they've been making.
At some point, I wondered whether there's something that funny that used to happen. So after the training, and then the work starts. So these guys would walk out. We will leave at the same time.
Yes.
Before you leave, someone tells you, this guy is already done. Look, they've come back with an empty bag. And you're like, how? I think it was done to motivate us, but now no sale was happening. I don't think it was happening.
So someone goes and leaves
the
product somewhere else, and then you come like, they have sold it.
Yeah.
And you guys are like,
30,000 here I come. Yeah. So you have to walk. So you understand you were walking. One day we found ourselves in Mlolongo.
They're calling from Kibera to Mlolongo?
No, it's from South B.
Oh, the place is South B?
Yeah. To Mlolongo.
To Mlolongo.
Yeah. So you have to walk, and then you end up selling nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know that kind of sale is tough.
Yeah.
Because also, and I think the reason is because I've seen some of those guys selling different products. There is no trust.
No.
Because number one, if someone comes maybe in your hood or in your apartment selling such stuff, you are a suspect for a thief. Right? So, or people think it's a scam in one or the other. Because number one of maybe how, when you're doing such work, you're not looking so organized. You have worked from South B to Mlolongo.
You're actually very organized. So one of the requirements is that you have to wear, you have to dress officially, and you must have a tie as a guy, all times.
You guys used to board matatus from South B to Mlolongo? Or?
No. You don't have the money. No one gives you money to do that.
But even if you're wearing a tie and a suit, and you walk from South B to Mlolongo, that tie would have turned into a rope.
I once removed it, and then I was met by the supervisor in the field.
It was a problem.
Yeah, it was a problem.
That's what I'm telling you.
He would fire me.
It's not practical because most of the guys I've met or they have come to sell to me at some point, they don't really look presentable.
Yeah.
In some way. And I understand why. Because if you have to walk long distance, because again, you're trying to save and make a big difference in what you sell. Yeah. So you don't have extra money to board a matatu or to take a Uber or to take a boda or anything.
And then you need to have lunch. I mean, you're walking and you're carrying luggage.
And you've not sold anything. So you're not looking
around 7 kgs every day.
Okay, so you survived this. How?
So I actually didn't really survive it completely. At some point, I was like, this is shit.
Enough is enough.
6
months is a long time to make it.
Yeah. So we left. I moved to... I actually used to cook... I ran a place where we used to sell fast food. So I was the one that was preparing the chips, the samosas, and the...
Dude, and you can cook, by the way. We'll talk about that. Yeah. That's how you learned how to cook one-on-one.
Exactly. And then I also learned baking and decorating cakes. So that was the kind of person I was ideally. So I used to do all these things. And then after that, I left.
It sounds like a
because the opportunity was ready.
In Kibra.
Actually, the Chipo Mutu, I did that at the Kenya prisons.
That was a family business or your business?
No, it's not my business. It wasn't even a family business.
You got hired?
Yeah, I got hired to do it.
No training, learn on the job.
Learn on the job.
How did that go? And by the way, how did you get that gig? Because, someone might be looking.
It's for a family friend.
A reference.
Yeah. And then they knew, so this thing my mom used to talk about, hi, this guy can cook.
Allah.
Yeah. So
it's a blessing also from your mom.
Yeah. So, and then she talked to her and then I was like, go there and you'll get your 500 a day.
Which is decent if you don't have so much responsibility.
Yeah, so I was like, 500 a day, I'll do it. I don't want to be
comparatively
idle.
to walking to Mlolongo using Lexus.
200 shillings, and it's nothing. And then, remember again, if you don't sell, you have to walk home.
You have to walk back home.
You have to show up the next day.
And when, by the way, I'm curious, when did you realize, like, dude, at this point, I'm not selling in. At what time?
I think so. I think it wasn't just working. I think I realized that it was false advertising, and then it was hectic. And then I'm getting an opportunity where I can get 500 guaranteed.
And another thing, were these products really quality products, or
they're actually quality products, very good products?
But it never worked.
Because I can used to sell flasks.
Oh, you used to sell flasks.
Yeah, and then because those one will give us like 200.
FMCGs, and I think that's why FMCGs are really a big thing right now, because there are a couple of companies doing that.
Yeah.
So maybe digitizing it has really given people that visibility of what is being sold.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if people don't have that trust, and also they don't have the visibility of what is being sold, it becomes hard. So you join this place cooking chips and cakes, birthday cakes, wedding cakes.
Yeah, I did that for quite a while. And then when the time came, because they normally have intakes.
Yes.
And I joined my intake around March, if I'm not wrong. And so in the first 3 months, I was actually occupied with doing the Chipo Mutu thing. And after that, of course, now the opportunity comes in. We went for an interview. I was taken in. Then that was the first day of my class back in 2013. Then everything happened. So it has 3 levels, Nairobits.
Yes.
Then it had 3 levels.
Yes.
So you do the first one. Mostly it's an introduction to computers and designs and all that.
Yes.
Because again, I would think I was also privileged enough to have at least interacted with computers, because I did computer studies in high school.
Yes.
I was actually a fan of computers from an early stage. Yeah.
Did you code? Did you play games on computers? How did you interact with computers in high school?
So in high school, I think it was just work.
Yes.
And I mean learning.
Yes.
And that's why I actually knew things like COBOL, ideally basic code, HTML, and that. But then again, mostly you get to work with the Microsoft software, even on the projects that on the projects that we do and stuff like that. Not much. So after that, that's the first step. The second step is mostly another. You get to where now you get to look at web.
Yes.
You get to look at design in depth a bit.
Yes.
And then, so 3 months, 6 months, second level, and then 6 months on the final level.
What is this final level?
The final level now is Media Lab. So
what is that exactly? To someone who has no idea what it is.
The Media Lab basically is where now we get to look at production. You get it sort of into the production level of work. So where at that point you actually know how to create websites quite well. You get to learn more about branding, other things, for instance, how to actually even apply to interviews, what to do, and all that. So all
they're preparing you for the market.
Exactly, because after that, you technically are going into the market. So that was technically the journey and all that.
So it roughly took you 2 years, 1.5 years?
1.5 years. Yeah.
And you learned with a couple of guys, right?
Yeah, I learned with a couple of guys.
How are they doing?
When I answer this question, sometimes I'm very careful.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, some ditched the thing completely.
Oh, yeah.
Others pursued it. And then there are others, I don't know. The ones that ditched went into a different path. For some, it worked for them quite well. Others, I wouldn't say it worked for them quite well.
Yes.
I think at some point they got into this survival mode.
Yes.
Working for survival. That's what I call it. That means, for instance, I'll probably just find a job that just gives me 15K.
Yes.
And then settle for that.
Yes.
So you're working for survival.
Yes.
Then sooner or later, the other one probably struggling with something.
Yeah.
Struggling with something else and all that. And I understand all of us struggle.
Yes.
But I think I would like to actually think if they had probably pursued what we learned
yes,
up to now,
yes,
we would all probably be very far. Because funny enough, with the same education that I went through, we have people right now. One runs IDEO I think in Africa. IDEO, the design company, and the other one, there's one in Microsoft. We have people in Google and all that. People who've been through Nairobits.
Wow, that's amazing.
So you can imagine, and I think this is a part where I think what you're taught basically, it's something that could translate into something very important in your life.
Yeah.
But then again, most people are impatient and they don't take it
that serious.
They don't take the time and take it seriously.
Yeah.
So eventually they're tired, and then because they want quick money, and then they go 500 there today. I think I see I'm getting 500. The other side,
and they get comfortable.
They got comfortable, and then the reality is that probably when you hit 25 plus, and then you get to have, and then you have a kid, that comfortable no longer works.
Because now there are too many people depending on you.
Exactly.
Responsibilities start knocking at your door.
Yeah. So then you want to go back and start learning. You want to call the person you went to school with and then tell them, can you teach me this, man? I see it's working for you. Because you see, I've seen this by the people who never took it seriously, now suddenly just want to come back and then tell me to teach them.
I see.
And I'm not saying it's because I'm the greatest guy.
Yes,
actually, as shitty as
no,
they come.
You're greatest. we know you, Mwendwa. Stop being modest here. We know you're good. Yeah.
That's because sometimes I don't know if it's my doing.
Yes.
Because I don't really think it's my doing most of the time. I have done some things right, but at the end of the day, I think when I look at my life in summary, I always like to say this is the part where I want to be careful and remain as humble as possible. And
even Albert Einstein, before he died, he never thought he was great. You know that? Yeah. Great guys don't know. They don't consider themselves great. They don't know if they are really great. They're just doing stuff differently, and other people find it fascinating. So I understand it from that point, but
well, there's that.
But I'm telling you, you're really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Normally make sure that doesn't go into my head.
For sure.
Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that perhaps things would have been different for them if they had been patient with the process and taken the time.
And eat a little bit of noodles.
Eat noodles, sleep hungry.
Take risk.
This is a funny one, and I was actually talking about it yesterday with a cab driver that was taking me home.
Yes.
So this guy, we were having a chat, and then there's a time by day I was very broke. So I decided I'll just stay in that house. I cannot call my parents and stress them equally.
Yes.
So I'll just stay in that house because I knew I had rice and I had sugar. Water was there by default.
Wait a minute. What is the connection between rice and sugar?
Wait, let me tell you. So that's when I realized I can actually just cook white rice and prepare tea.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like...
But did you have tea leaves or?
Yeah, I had tea leaves. But then again, I knew tea leaves are things that I can get even for 10 shillings.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get
let
tea
me know
leaves for 10
free.
shillings. Actually, you can get tea leaves for even 5 shillings.
Oh, yeah? Yes, for sure.
So the sachets one.
Those ones, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was like, why do we actually have to eat rice and then accompany it with some maybe greens or rather stew, beans? Is it necessary? That's what I asked myself. And that's how I survived that. Because I was like, bro.
Being broke is interesting.
Exactly. And I actually survived.
People cook ugali and uji.
Yeah. And
okay, ugali and porridge.
Yeah, and that's... and that works.
And they wonder, why do people have beef stew and ugali?
Yeah, why?
Why are you so extravagant?
Who lied to us that we have to...
why are you killing animals for ugali?
And I think that is sort of like what sort of defined the line where that determined where if I'm going to be the guy that will feel sorry for myself and be depressed. Oh, I'm eating rice without nothing. So I mean, dude, it's food. Someone else doesn't have anything.
away.
Literally.
And talking of people not having anything, it's getting worse, especially at the moment.
Yeah.
Where people who survive maybe go for manual work, get 500 bob, and then they find maize flies like 200, 230. Maybe you have walked from work. That's a whole day pay.
Yeah.
You need rent from that money. Maybe you have a wife and kids. You can see how complicated that might become.
Yeah.
And it's really getting serious. So as much as sometimes it's good to embrace where you are,
yeah,
I think because I consider you a leader in design, and Nairobits is doing an amazing job in like equipping people with skills that can actually propel them to places like Google.
Yeah.
You're also volunteering your busy schedule to go and teach more guys the skill. And you're doing an amazing job. So I think as Africans, and that's why we're having this conversation. As Africans, I think it's about time, whatever small skills that you know, and because you have passed through it all, sharing that skill does not mean you lose it. It's not a zero-sum game.
It's never.
And the more people who have the skill, the better, because you also get better with time. And they say the best way to learn something is to teach it.
Yeah.
So if you are listening out there, maybe you are one of the best designers or best software engineer or best architect or best whatever you do, please disseminate that knowledge.
Yeah.
You won't lose any. Actually, if at all, you'll gain.
You're actually gaining more value than you know it.
Yes. Because when I knew you're not an instructor.
Yeah.
Maybe even you're a student or maybe even you're not doing. And over time, you have always been positive about let's share, let's try and impact. And we have traveled with you around the country, trying to share the same skills and even how to grow that. And talking of growth, there's something pertinent that you mentioned about the people you studied with.
Yeah.
As an instructor, do you see the same attitude of people who ignore this process and then maybe afterwards? How many classes have graduated in your tenure?
I think over time up to now, so far I have taught probably 180 students so far, or 200.
But how many cohorts?
Cohorts. I have done 2 each year. So that's 4 cohorts.
4 cohorts.
Yeah.
So have you seen the same attitude with your classmates from this cohorts?
Like from the students?
Yes.
So there's one thing, when you become a teacher, you want to be hopeful.
But we all know hope doesn't solve shit.
That's because, so you see, and I think this is an interesting part with young people, or rather younger people. The idea is that you have to keep telling them the same thing over and over. And you hope that it will help them.
Yes.
Like one of the things that I actually also recently started by doing is that I give an example of 3 types of people.
Yes.
And in those three types of people, I look at it also aligns with the people I studied with.
Yes.
At the same time, and the people in the industry. So these 3 types of people are one, the one who will learn and use the knowledge that they've gotten from Nairobits.
Yes.
And then pursue it to the fullest at 100%. And then I'll give you good examples of where they are. Because the reality is they're not at the same place.
Yes.
The second type of person is the one who went through Nairobits and then they were like, nah, this is not for me.
And they were honest about it.
Yeah, and they were honest about it.
Yeah.
So because they wanted to do something to do with videography. So they went into that. And then because they went into that knowing that this is not for me and this is for me. And then again, they put 100 into that. They did well.
Yes.
In life.
Yes.
The other one is the impatient one. He went through Nairobits.
Yeah.
Maybe because after Nairobits, he was like, I need to just start getting like 300 shillings somewhere, and then I'll still use my Nairobits skills. Now that is the one that would likely be absorbed by the 300 shillings, be consumed by the 300 shillings cycle, and that will take
Hand to
them time
mouth.
to actually to actually get out of that. Because look at it this way: 300 shillings jobs, some are 500 shillings jobs. They actually consume you 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, right? I mean,
And you really work hard
all of
for
them.
for that amount.
Yeah.
If you think about
So
most of those
and then
jobs.
over time you're constantly tired. So if it's to grow
Can't
an
even
extra
think.
skill, if it's an extra skill, you won't grow it.
Yes.
So you become a survivor again. You go back to the same cycle.
And time is not on your side.
Yeah. So in the long run, you become that guy who survives. Those are the 3 types of people I tell my students. And that's sort of like, if I give you that, if when the thing I have in mind when I tell my students that is that if you're going to take this, you have to be serious from day one. If you're not going to take it, leave now.
It's about time.
Yeah. Because figure out what you want to do, leave now, go do something else. It will help you.
Yes.
But give it 100%. But don't be the guy that stays here and then gets into the normal system, and then you become the same type of person.
Yes.
All along. So with that in mind, so over time I have seen students that actually left because I said that. But then again, when they leave, it's not a moment to feel bad, because again, I can't say I know you.
You've helped them save some time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they leave, and then you'll hear that they did well in something else, and then that gives you joy. And then there's the one who stays. The one you stay, you actually hope they don't become the two, the third person.
Yes.
Because if you stay, make sure you see it through,
Mm.
and then you don't become the guy who survives. So, you can actually stay and then just become the guy who follows it through,
Yes.
and does well for that. So
Yes.
with that, that's why I'm telling you it's about being hopeful.
Yeah.
Because being in that position, you don't want to look at someone and be like, you'll be the third guy. It's dangerous to think like that. I don't think you'll even teach that person well. You'll always come into that class with an assumption that this guy will not be great, so I will not even focus much on his work or their work. So you see, that's the risk. You cannot be that guy. Like, it's the same thing. Like, I think you see when you were back in primary school, there were teachers that told some guys you'll never amount to anything.
Yeah.
I think when you think that,
Yeah,
rather see other
that's
a student as something like that,
Yeah.
that's the one mistake you'll be making again. So that's why you cannot have that mind.
But when I think about it right now, I see why. That's not a good thing. If you're a teacher, it's rather not say anything rather than be negative towards someone.
Yeah, exactly. So the idea is that you have to keep hammering knowledge, and you have to push this person so much so that no time will be wasted. And then they have to realize it, because again, young people are very funny if you teach them. These guys will joke. They are very funny. So I was privileged enough to work with primary school kids. They are the lower primary school kids. Those kids are great. Teaching them, if you pair them with anyone, they will work with anyone. They don't have that friends thing that the high schoolers have. If you interact with them, high schoolers, you can pair them with someone, and then they're like, that's not my friend, so we'll not work together.
True.
Right?
True. Yeah.
And then you meet this other one that is not a high school, and then they're just a teenager to 24 years old. Those people are very different. They'll actually not want to work with anyone else, but the reality is that you have to work with someone, because the world requires them to work with someone.
Yes.
At some point, if you are going to work anywhere, literally your job or be employed, you have to work with someone.
Yes.
So you have to force it.
Yes.
You have to train them to actually get into that cycle. They cannot be the same person.
Yes.
And that's what you keep saying and keep saying and keep saying and keep saying and keep saying until they change. It's repetition, literally. Say it more and more. Sometimes maybe 3 or 4 will hate you for it. Maybe sometimes you have to punish students.
Yes.
Because, for instance, you cannot decide to, out of a week, to just show up twice. And then you want to tell me you're giving it 100%.
For sure.
Right? So because of that, you have to take some steps that will ensure that person actually
It's consistent.
It's consistent.
Yeah.
And those are the things that shape these students to become something else. If you don't hold them to that standard, you are as well also doing them a disservice. Soon enough, they'll realize. But then if you're tough right now and they hate you right now, the other reality is that soon enough, they'll see why it makes sense.
And it's the same thing with parenting, right? Because there are things that maybe you're told when you're a young guy and you're like, come on now. I want to be a kid, right? I want to have all this time. But when you grow up, you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
So my parent actually didn't give me a beating because they hate me, or they didn't say such words because they don't like me or hate me.
Yeah.
But at that point, you are like, they don't. Anyway, that's something we can explore more and more. But there's something you said about teachers saying negative stuff to students.
Yeah.
But there are guys who have gone out of their way to prove. Because even parents, by the way, some of the parents are so negative, so cruel. They beat you almost to death. The parents who even go to an extent of killing their own children.
Shout out to my mom.
you received a beating,
my friend.
proper beating.
Proper beating.
But, and it's so unfortunate that most of us live to prove other people either wrong or right.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's not the best life to live.
Terrible.
You should be able to live to realize your own potential and live your own purpose.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful life.
Very.
Because once you prove those people right or wrong, then what? Maybe that's when you start living, and maybe at your age 40 or 50 or even 60 or maybe even 80.
I mean, you're hardly even ever going to start living.
Psychologically, you're broken.
Yeah. And I think it's also part of one of the things I also tell my students. So you see, there's this idea that teachers, I think it's just because it's a cliche people pick up. I've had people come and talk to the students, and then they'd be like, prove them wrong. You have no one to prove.
You just live your life.
Yeah.
Because there's a reason why you're alive.
Yeah, do what you have to do. I mean, there's a funny example. I was talking to a good friend of mine. And then these guys, for instance, you've experienced a breakup, and then the next thing you're like, I will prove to her that I am good. What the heck are you doing? Right? Like, just live your life.
Yeah.
You don't have to prove anything to anyone, and you cannot actually try living in that.
Yeah.
With such in mind.
Yeah.
You're actually consuming yourself with nothingness. Purely.
Yes.
Because what are you trying to prove?
It's like chasing wind.
Yeah, chasing wind completely.
Because these people also, maybe they're not living their potential, their purpose.
Yeah, they're just doing something to annoy someone.
Someone actually told me most of these actually is as a result of how most of Africans have suffered. Yeah. But Africans have suffered.
Tell me about it. How?
So Africans, they are living their life, hunting animals, tilling farm, trying to settle around Africa.
Yeah.
And they didn't have means of transport, so they used Lexus a lot.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because right now I see a lot of people try to exercise using Lexus.
Yeah.
I'm like, life is a mystery, because when you think you advance and you have technology, you go back and exercise using the same way that you are loathing. Right? Then, before even they discover themselves, colonizations happen. and a lot of brainwashing.
Yeah.
And it was not easy as it might sound. Here even people used to come with a Bible. They give you a Bible, and then you exchange your shamba, your farm.
Yeah.
With
good news.
It's like they tell you. Sometimes when you read I understand them, because these guys didn't know how to read, number one.
Yeah.
Right? So someone, even they have never seen a book. Yeah. Someone comes with I don't know how they used to keep their knowledge, because I understand also Africans used to keep their knowledge. Yeah. That's for sure. But you see this book, which talks about a lot of mysteries.
Yeah.
Because Bible is a mystery. Yeah. You need to seek spiritual intervention to understand Bible.
Yeah.
Not something you can just read like another book and understand.
Yeah.
Then someone comes and teaches you how to read, right? And I'm sure in that process of teaching you how to read, because they have self-interest, they will translate or define some of the things the wrong way for their advantage, and also even translate what it means to their advantage.
Yeah.
And then African or Africa, or the people who are living in Africa, are perturbed by this knowledge, so they could exchange it for anything.
Yeah, it's new. It's
before they realize it, everything is taken
gone
away. The life as they knew it, they were told it's wrong.
Yeah.
They didn't used to care about so much about clothes, so they used to wear, skin hide.
Yeah.
They used that for everything. They used to have, build their houses using mud.
Yeah.
And things like grass thatch.
Yeah.
Living in life that is really, you're enjoying. You interacted with nature fully. Before they know it, they are becoming slaves now.
Yeah.
All right? They are being, some of them I hear they were being, I don't know which is the word, but they suffered a lot. The beating, the piercing, people used to be chained like dogs.
Yeah.
And then
actually even get exiled
and killed.
You're hunted across the country,
right?
Your land.
And we're not talking more than 100 years ago.
Yeah.
You're talking about 60. Some of those guys are alive even as you speak. A few of them, right?
Yeah.
So when they brought up the next offspring, they had to take that bitterness on someone.
It's actually it becomes part of them.
Exactly. So if you do something wrong, the only way they knew it, as they were brainwashed and
transferred trauma,
they put it on you.
Yeah.
The one who is given the trauma now, our parents, down the line, what do you think? So this person told me, really, it's somewhere. We need to break that chain.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, and you're not sober, we don't correct our children out of empathy and love.
Yeah.
We'll continue the same chain, which is not good for growth of body, mind, and soul.
Yeah. And I think there's someone that put it quite well.
Yeah.
If you're going to raise your child, be careful that they don't resent you.
For sure.
Because of what you do.
Yeah.
If your child resents you, something else.
Who is this?
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson. Yeah. But they will talk about Jordan Peterson at some point, because
one day,
that dude is really doing an amazing stuff around, psychology, where the modern world is, civilization, the role of people in gender, things to do with growth, and
personal growth,
everything.
Yeah.
And he has also written a couple of books, so I think I hope one day I'll host him. Jordan Peterson.
I also really look forward to one of the things I actually want to do is just to meet that guy. I don't know what I'll say.
Yeah.
But one of the things I have to say at some point is thank you, and of course just have a chat.
Yeah.
Because he's doing a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he's correcting a whole generation alone.
He has taken it upon himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
He actually says there's one of the things he says, it's necessary to be a man.
For sure.
Necessary.
I agree. I can't agree more. And I'll tell you why I agree some other time.
Yeah.
Because also I've realized not so many people are men.
True.
Besides the gender, so many people are not men.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because now the society depends a lot on you as a man. And sometimes if you're not a man, by the way, you can't afford to sometimes be a man, sometimes be something else.
Yeah. You have to be a man, and that's it.
Yes. So
back.
He digress. But it's necessary because it's part of the growth.
True.
So you're in Nairobits. You have finished your course.
Yeah.
And now you're out here.
Yeah.
How do you transition? Is it the point where you went and got employment, then started Tiskos, or you also spend another 6 months selling flasks?
Yeah. After that, for me, because I already knew what I was doing, for me, it's out of school, employment. After employment, start a business. Do the business for right now. I think it's around 8 to 9 years. Not so sure, 7 years.
Have you met your best client yet?
Yes. If I say no, but I think over time I've worked with terrible clients. But right now, my
next question was like, have you met your worst client yet?
I have met my worst clients.
Yes,
that I have.
You wanna share that experience?
I'll do that, but before I do that, I have to pay homage to the good ones. And to the good ones, I work right now with some of the best clients. And this, for me, the best clients in a way sort of allow you to create. They're not there to supervise your creation. Of course, you have to meet. By that, I don't mean that you sort of like just do things out there and then just dispose them to them. But they give you room to do what you do.
Yes.
They trust you.
Yes.
And you get to deliver and they're happy.
Yes.
And those are the best clients.
Yes.
When it comes to paying, the best clients equally. Shitty ones, I've had my good share of shitty clients. I've worked with people who to date have never paid a single cent. Those are the worst ones.
It's called gig economy, bro.
Yeah. So I think every time I remember my shitty client, I don't know if I can mention the name, but
feel free.
It's let me actually put it this way. It was one from the biggest radios in Kenya. Yeah. The biggest radios in Kenya.
Yeah.
So I worked with the guy there. They were developing a completely different product.
Yeah.
I had done a lot of work. And this guy one day actually walked into his office. So he used to actually just issue threats. And I don't know. There's something about me. I don't just take threats. Not like they don't even register as threats. So one day he's sitting in his office and then he's like, I'll shoot you guys if you don't deliver. He actually carries a gun. So he's like, I'll shoot you. So do this. What do you think? Come, look at this work. Like he was just terrible. On top of being terrible, he was not paying.
Did he have a tough childhood?
He must have had one. I think every time I remember the worst one, I think that for me is the worst one. The others, of course, it's just, it gets to a point and then you realize it's not working because you want something that it's sort of like in a way you're exploiting my ability to deliver.
You're taking advantage.
Yeah, you're taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
So those ones, again, you just get to ditch them and then life goes on.
And how long did it take you to realize this is not working?
Actually, I got wrecked the whole way. Through the whole time, I knew very well this guy was shitty.
It's not working.
But I was still working.
You wanted to see if...
Opium.
In a bad relationship.
Yeah.
And hoping sometime maybe this may work.
Yeah. Or rather, maybe I'll just deliver and then this will stop. That happened that way. The others, you get to a point and then it's those moments where you probably showering or just asking yourself, okay, what's going on? Because actually those moments are very important.
Yes.
Mostly in the shower. I mean, in the shower, that's someone told me, or rather said, the best before anyone is fired, the person who's coming to fire you made that decision in the shower. So
it's not something they are contemplating when they are meeting you.
No, they already made it in the shower.
And maybe not that
in the shower, it's like you're being rained on. Everything's like, but if you think about it, it actually makes sense.
Yeah.
But then again, you can actually ask yourself what happens when you're showering, what you're thinking and all that. It's like everything just becomes sort of balanced, and then you're thinking. But yeah, that's just that. So
now I'm thinking about what goes on in there. And I'm having ideas.
Yeah. So where was I?
About the guys who are not really nice.
Yeah. So you sort of like have to sit down at some point and ask yourself whether I'm growing from this. If am I growing from this? Is this client good? Are they even sometimes? You see, some clients can be how do I put this? Selfish. Selfish in a way that, for instance, you just work for them.
Yes.
And they will never actually sort of like recommend you anywhere else.
Or recognize because they want you for
mostly recommend you anywhere else because they want you for themselves. For me, I think that's not always a good client.
Yes.
Like, of course, I will deliver for you and all that, but I don't want you to feel like you own me. Or rather, you own my skill because it works for you.
You can only own the work I've done for
because most of the time, those people want to be hired, want to hire you full time.
So they are making your life as difficult as possible.
Yeah.
And coming as the shining hammer.
Yeah. And actually, if you're not conscious enough, you'll find yourself in that bait. So I'm always very conscious about such things. And those ones are not really like bad clients. I understand what is going on.
Yeah.
But I'm always like conscious of that.
Yes.
So I know very well sometimes when I sit down and think, that's how I also evaluate whether this job is actually helping me grow or it is not. If it's not, again, you're allowed to also walk away.
Yes.
As a person.
Yes.
And that's what I also do.
Yes.
So over time, of course, that it works out with others, it doesn't. But then again, you don't have to stop because it has not worked with one.
Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
So when we meet next time, John, we'll talk more about relationships because you don't exist in vacuum.
Yeah.
And I know designer work is really demanding.
Very.
And you have a story to tell.
True.
And I think this also will inform some of the young guys coming up and doing stuff. So at the end of the day, it's about, can you balance both? Can you not let one go?
Yeah.
And for the sake of the other. So thank you so much for today.
Cheers.
And it was good really hosting you and having this conversation the way it is.
Yeah.
It's all about growing tech ecosystem. And it's been real. It's yours, MK or Michael Kimathi. Until next time, for Impact Masters Media, see ya.